A young nurse bathed a millionaire in a coma, but when he suddenly woke up, something miraculous. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to our main character. The fluorescent lights in Westbridge Private Hospital buzz softly, casting a pale glow over the polished floor. It's nearly midnight, and the halls smell faintly of antiseptic and lavender detergent. Anna Monroe walks quickly, her white sneakers squeaking with every step. She's 26, a nurse for almost 2 years, and tonight something feels different. The head of neurology, Dr. Harris, had summoned her to his office without explanation. She smooths her ponytail, knocks once, and steps inside. "You wanted to see me, doctor?" He doesn't turn around at first. His hands are clasped behind his back, eyes fixed on the city lights through the window. When he finally speaks, his tone is measured, almost too calm. "Anna, we have a patient who requires special care. But this assignment, it's not for the faint-hearted." Her stomach tightens. "What kind of patient?" Dr. Harris gestures to a thick medical file on his desk. The name printed in bold black letters steals her breath. Grant Carter. Even if she hadn't recognized it, the newspaper clipping inside makes it clear. A year ago, a horrific car crash had left the city's youngest billionaire in a coma. 32 years old, CEO of Carter Enterprises. Once known for being ruthless, brilliant, and untouchable, now silent. His condition is stable but stagnant, Dr. Harris says. He needs someone who won't treat him like a lost cause. Someone who actually cares. Anna hesitates. "And you think that's me?" He meets her eyes for the first time. "I do. Your record speaks for itself." The weight of his words settles on her shoulders. She remembers her mother, the hospital bed, the cold hands she once held as machines beeped just like this. She had promised herself then no patient of hers would ever feel forgotten. She nods slowly. "I'll take it." Dr. Harris allows the smallest smile. "Good. Your shift starts tonight." Hours later, Anna stands outside the private suite on the top floor. It feels more like a luxury apartment than a hospital room. Mahogany furniture, soft lighting, a panoramic window overlooking the sleeping city. And there, in the center, lies Grant Carter. Tubes, monitors, machines, yet somehow, even in stillness, he looks powerful. His skin pale but clean, his dark hair slightly tousled. If not for the lifeless calm of his chest, he could have been mistaken for a man just napping between meetings. Anna steps closer, adjusting his IV line with careful precision. "You're the famous Mr. Carter," she whispers. "Guess it's just you and me now." The heart monitor answers with a steady beep. She takes a warm towel from the basin and begins the nightly routine. Her movements are gentle but confident. Wipe, rinse, dry, repeat. The room hums softly with machines and her quiet voice. "They say people in comas can still hear things, you know," she murmurs, half to herself. "So, if you're listening, consider this your daily news broadcast. The cafeteria coffee's still terrible. You'd hate it." For a moment, she thinks she imagines it the faintest twitch of his fingers. But when she glances down, his hand lies still. She shakes her head, smiling faintly. "Great. First night and I'm already hallucinating." Still, as she wrings out the towel and wipes his arm, the thought lingers. Maybe he can hear me. Maybe somewhere deep inside, he knows he's not alone. The heart monitor beeps again, steady, rhythmic, alive. Anna straightens the sheets, turns off the lamp, and whispers before leaving, "Good night, Mr. Carter. I'll see you tomorrow." Outside the window, the city lights shimmer like a pulse. And somewhere in that quiet room, the tiniest movement barely visible ripples beneath the blankets, as if a miracle is trying to find its way back. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the tall windows of the hospital corridor, soft and golden. Anna rubbed her tired eyes and balanced a tray of fresh linens and medical charts. The scent of coffee drifted faintly from the nurse's station, but she was already running on adrenaline. It had been a long night, yet something about the quiet hum of machines inside room 405 pulled her back faster than usual. When she pushed open the door, the room was still dim, curtains drawn halfway. Grant Carter lay motionless as ever, the monitors keeping rhythm like a metronome of life. Anna placed the tray on the counter and glanced at him. "Morning, Mr. Carter," she said softly. The city looks peaceful today. Maybe you would like to know the sunrise looked pretty amazing. Her voice filled the silence as she checked his vitals, wrote notes, adjusted the foreline. Everything was normal, ordinary, and yet, not quite. She reached for the towel and bowl of warm water, her routine since day one. As she began wiping his hand, she hesitated. Last night she had felt something, a faint twitch, a whisper of movement. Maybe it had been her imagination, maybe it had been hope trying to trick her. Still, she paused long enough to study his fingers. Nothing. She exhaled slowly, forcing a smile. All right, guess it was just me losing sleep. The machines hummed, the window rattled faintly with morning wind, and time stretched. She moved carefully, her touch steady and precise, making sure every gesture carried care. Do you know, she murmured, some people think talking helps recovery. So here's my therapy plan for you, Mr. Carter. No silence allowed. She laughed quietly to herself and began humming a slow tune under her breath. It was a song her mother used to play when Anna was a child, something soft enough to calm a restless heart. She did not notice the subtle change in the monitor, the tiniest elevation in the pulse rate, perfectly timed to the melody. When she turned back to place the towel in the basin, her elbow brushed against his hand. For a split second, she froze. The skin felt warm, not the usual clinical warmth from blankets or heated pads, but human warmth, alive. Her pulse jumped. She leaned closer, eyes fixed on his hand. "Grant?" she whispered, before realizing how strange that sounded. "Mr. Carter, can you hear me?" Silence. A few seconds passed, and then, so slight she almost missed it, his index finger moved again, a small but unmistakable flex. The heart monitor quickened by a single beat. Her breath caught in her throat. "Oh my God," she said, voice trembling. "Dr. Harris needs to see this." She pressed the call button, trying to steady herself. Moments later, the door opened, and Dr. Harris entered with 2 assistants. "You said there was movement?" he asked, skeptical but alert. "Yes," Anna said quickly. His hand moved, twice. "Look at the monitor." His pulse had changed when I spoke to him. The doctor checked the readings, his brows furrowed. "It could be a reflex," he said cautiously, "or a random nerve response." "No," Anna insisted. "It was deliberate. I swear, it was like he was trying to respond." Harris studied her for a moment, then softened. "Keep observing. Log everything. If there is more movement, we will schedule another scan." After he left, Anna sat beside the bed, heart still racing. She placed her hand gently over his again. "If you can hear me, just keep fighting, okay? You have already survived this long. Do not stop now." She stayed there a while, watching him breathe, the steady rhythm of the monitor now oddly comforting. Outside, sunlight spilled across the city like a quiet promise. For the first time in months, the air in room 405 felt differentless, like a tomb, more like a beginning. Anna smiled faintly. "Maybe," she whispered, "just maybe, that miracle everyone stopped believing in is on its way." That evening, the hospital corridors glowed under the low amber lights of the night shift. The sound of footsteps and distant voices faded until the world narrowed to a single steady heartbeat coming from room 405. Anna sat in the chair beside the bed, a cup of untouched coffee cooling in her hands. She had finished her rounds, but something made her stay. Every few seconds she glanced at Grant Carter's hand, half expecting it to move again. Her notebook lay open on her lap, filled with notes from the day. 8:43 a.m. movement, detected in right index finger. Pulse increase by 2 BPM. Possible response to auditory stimulus. She smiled faintly at her own words. She knew some would call it wishful thinking, but hope was the only medicine she believed in that did not need a prescription. Outside, rain tapped against the window, a soft, hypnotic rhythm. Anna leaned closer and whispered, "You gave everyone quite a scare today, Mr. Carter. I think Dr. Harris nearly dropped his clipboard." The corners of her mouth curved into a quiet laugh. "But I know what I saw. You are still in there." She reached for the cloth, soaked it in warm water, and began to clean his arm in gentle circles. It was part of her routine now, a ritual almost sacred. The scent of mild soap mixed with antiseptic filled the air. As she moved, she began to talk again, more naturally this time, her words flowing without thought. "You know, before I became a nurse, I used to paint. I even dreamed about opening a small studio by the bay. Life had other plans, I guess. After my mom passed away, I realized maybe I was meant to heal people instead of painting them." She smiled softly. "Still, Sometimes when I am here, in this quiet, it feels like art. The way the light hits the machines, the way the city hums outside, it all feels alive. The monitor beeped softly, steady and calm, but she noticed something subtle, a small fluctuation in rhythm that matched her speaking cadence. Her breath caught. "You hear me, do not you?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "If you can, maybe blink or move your fingers again." She waited, eyes locked on his hand. Seconds passed, then a minute. Nothing. She sighed, resting her head briefly on the edge of the bed. Maybe it was too soon. Just as she stood to leave, a faint sound broke the silence, the distinct hitch of a breath. Her heart stopped. She turned back, frozen. Grant's chest rose deeper this time. Not the automatic rise of a machine, but an effort, weak and deliberate. The monitor flickered, adjusting to a stronger heartbeat. Anna gasped. "Grant, can you hear me? Try again." His eyelids fluttered, once, twice. Like a signal from beneath the surface, the air in the room changed. The beeping grew louder, faster, alive. Anna reached for the intercom. "Dr. Harris, room 405 now!" Moments later, the door burst open. The medical team flooded in, voices layering over one another. "He is breathing on his own. Vitals improving. Get the oxygen ready." Anna stepped back, her pulse racing. It felt unreal, like watching a soul climb its way back from darkness. Dr. Harris moved beside her, astonished. "I will be damned," he murmured. "You were right." The room became a controlled chaos of movement, machines humming, staff working swiftly. Anna stood quietly in the corner, tears stinging her eyes, watching as color slowly returned to Grant Carter's face. For weeks, he had been a statue. Now, a living man again. When the flurry settled, Dr. Harris approached her. "You did well, Anna. Whatever connection you made, it reached him." She nodded, unable to find words. After the others left, she lingered once more, just the two of them under the dim light. His breathing steadied, soft but sure. Anna brushed a stray lock of hair from his forehead and whispered, "Welcome back, Mr. Carter." Outside, thunder rolled far away, and for the first time in a year, the city of Westbridge had one more heartbeat joining its rhythm. She exhaled shakily, smiling through tears. "You heard me after all," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. And somewhere behind those closed eyelids, Grant's fingers moved again, as if to say yes. 3 days later, the story of Grant Carter's awakening spread quietly through the hospital like a warm current. Nurses whispered in hallways, and even doctors who had long stopped believing called it a miracle. But for Anna, it was not just a story. It was her every heartbeat. Each morning she walked into room 405, half terrified and half hopeful, unsure of what the day would bring. The monitors no longer hummed in isolation. They sang a rhythm of life. Grant's eyes still remained closed, but he was breathing on his own now. His chest rose and fell steadily, his complexion less pale, his muscles no longer rigid from stillness. Anna adjusted the blinds, letting soft sunlight spill across the room. "Good morning, Mr. Carter," she said with a smile. "You are making quite an impression around here. Everyone keeps asking me how you did it. I told them maybe you just needed someone to talk your ear off every day." She laughed quietly, her voice light but tender. She prepared his medication, checked his vitals, and began another gentle cleaning. The touch felt different now. It was no longer a duty, but a conversation without words. She hummed the same tune she had hummed before, watching the faint rise of his pulse line with every note. "You like this song, do you not?" she whispered. It was my mom's favorite too. For a while she simply sat there, watching the sunlight dance on the floor tiles, until she heard it the smallest sound, a groan, low but unmistakable. Her head snapped toward him. Grant's fingers curled weakly against the sheets. Then his lips parted, dry and trembling, a rasp of air escaping. "Where am I?" The words were faint, broken, but real. Anna froze, her heart leaping into her throat. "You are in Westbridge Hospital," she said quickly, her voice shaking with excitement. "You have been in a coma, but you are safe now. You are okay." His eyes fluttered open halfway, blue-gray and dazed, squinting against the light. He struggled to focus on her face. "Who are you?" "Anna," she replied softly, tears already spilling over. "I am your nurse. I have been taking care of you." He blinked slowly, his voice hoarse. "You talked to me. I heard you." Anna's hand flew to her mouth, a sob catching in her throat. "You did?" He gave a faint nod, barely more than a breath. "Every day," he murmured. "You would not stop talking." She laughed through tears. "Well, that sounds like me." The monitor steadied again, his heart strong, as if responding to her laughter. The moment felt impossibly fragile, like the world was holding its breath. She pressed the call button, and within moments Dr. Harris and the team arrived. The doctor froze mid-step when he saw Grant's eyes open. "Good Lord," he whispered. "He is fully conscious." The room came alive with movement again tests, lights, clipped medical orders, but all Anna could do was stand near the window, her hands trembling. She had prayed for this moment, imagined it in countless nights of silence, yet nothing prepared her for the raw miracle of hearing him speak. When the chaos settled and the team left, Dr. Harris turned to her. "He remembers your voice," he said quietly. That connection, it may have been what pulled him back. Anna nodded, unable to reply. Later that night, as she sat beside Grant's bed, he stirred again. His gaze found hers, clearer this time. "Thank you," he whispered, "for not giving up." She reached for his hand, holding it gently. "Welcome back, Mr. Carter. The world has been waiting for you." He tried to smile, and though weak, it was genuine. Outside, the rain had stopped, leaving the city washed and new. The glow of streetlights reflected through the window, wrapping the room in gold. Anna leaned back, her heart full. "Rest now," she said softly. "You have a lot of living left to do." And as Grant closed his eyes again, no longer trapped in silence, the steady sound of the heart monitor became the sweetest music she had ever heard. Over the next few weeks, the hospital room that once echoed with silence turned into a place filled with soft laughter and conversation. Grant Carter's recovery was steady, remarkable even, and every day he seemed more alive than the day before. The doctors called it resilience. Anna called it a miracle wrapped in science. She had seen patients come back from comas before, but never like this. There was something different about Grant, something in the way he watched the world as if he was seeing it for the first time. He spent hours just staring out the window, fascinated by the sunlight hitting the buildings. "You would think you have never seen a city before," Anna teased one morning as she adjusted his blanket. Grant smiled faintly. His voice was still soft, a little raspy, but the humor was returning. "Maybe I am seeing it properly for the first time." She paused, meeting his gaze. "You mean, without the rush?" He nodded. "Without the noise. I used to run a company, chase numbers, chase people. Now I am learning how to breathe again." Anna smiled, warmed by his honesty. Breathing is a good start. Each day became a quiet ritual. She brought him breakfast, helped him practice sitting up, encouraged him during therapy sessions. When the pain hit, she reminded him to fight through it. And in between the medical routines, they talked. He asked about her life, her family, and she found herself telling him stories she had not shared with anyone in years about growing up in a small town, about her mother, about the dream she once had to become a painter. Grant listened with an attentiveness that felt disarming. "Why did you stop painting?" he asked one afternoon. She hesitated, glancing down at her hands. "Life happened. Bills, responsibilities, reality. You know how it goes." He tilted his head, studying her face. "Reality is not a reason to stop doing what makes you feel alive." She laughed softly. Says the billionaire who forgot how to breathe. He chuckled, and the sound filled the room like sunlight. Days passed, and the connection between them deepened, not with grand gestures but with small, ordinary moments, a shared joke, a lingering glance, a silence that felt comfortable. The other nurses began to notice too. "You have a special touch with him," one said with a smile. Anna shrugged it off, but she knew something had changed. Grant no longer felt like just a patient. He felt like someone she wanted to protect, someone who reminded her that even in brokenness, there could be grace. One evening, after most of the staff had gone home, Anna found him awake, looking through an old book she had brought, a collection of watercolor paintings. "These are beautiful," he said. "Did you paint them?" She nodded shyly. "A long time ago." He traced the image of a small coastal town with his finger. "This one looks peaceful. Is it real?" "It is the town where I grew up," she replied. "I used to think I would live there forever, by the water, painting sunsets." Grant looked at her for a long moment before saying, "Maybe you still can." She smiled, but there was sadness behind it. "Some dreams belong to another version of ourselves." "Then maybe it is time you met that version again," he said quietly. The room fell silent, filled only with the rhythmic beeping of the monitor and the faint hum of the city outside. For a moment, Anna forgot she was in a hospital. She saw not the patient, but the mankind, scarred, yet alive. When she finally stood to leave, Grant reached out, his hand weak but steady. "Anna," he said softly, "you saved my life. Not just my body, my heart too." She froze, emotions catching her off guard. "I just did my job," she whispered. He smiled faintly. "Then you are very good at your job." That night, as she walked out into the cool air of the parking lot, Anna looked up at the stars scattered above the city and realized something she had not felt in a long time. Hope had found its way back, not just for him but for her too. It had been nearly 2 months since Grant Carter first opened his eyes, and the hospital no longer felt like a place of sickness but like the beginning of something new. His strength had returned gradually, and with it, his curiosity about the world beyond the sterile walls. Anna still visited every morning, even on days when she was not assigned to his case. She would bring him a cup of tea, the same chamomile blend she swore could calm anyone's nerves. Grant teased her that it tasted like warm grass, but he drank it anyway. The days moved in gentle rhythm. Physical therapy sessions filled the mornings, quiet conversations filled the afternoons, and laughter sometimes spilled into the nights. Yet beneath the growing warmth between them, a new tension stirred an invisible line they both felt but never crossed. Grant's memory, once foggy, was sharpening. He remembered names, places, and eventually the night of the accident. One afternoon, while Anna was checking his blood pressure, he said quietly, "The brakes failed that night." Her hand froze on the cuff. "What do you mean?" "I was driving back from a board meeting. I remember the bridge, the rain, and then nothing. But before it happened, I felt it. The brakes as they did not respond." His eyes darkened with realization. It was not just an accident. Anna swallowed hard. "Grant, you should tell Dr. Harris. Or the police." He looked at her, steady and calm. "I will, but not yet. I need to understand who wanted me gone." The words sent a chill through her. For the first time since his awakening, she saw the shadow of the powerful CEO he once was, sharp, determined, and unyielding. "Promise me you will be careful," she said softly. "You just got your life back." He gave a faint smile. "I intend to keep it this time." Later that evening, as the sun dipped behind the skyline, Grant sat by the window, staring at the city that had once worshipped and feared his name. Anna sat beside him, holding a small notebook she often carried. "You know," she said gently, "you do not have to be the man you were before. You get to decide who you are now." He glanced at her, his expression softening. "And who do you think that is?" "Someone worth saving," she said simply. Silence stretched between them, warm and unspoken. Grant reached out, taking the notebook from her hands. Inside were sketches, small, delicate watercolors of city streets, sunsets, and faces she had seen in the hospital. "You still paint?" he said quietly. "Only when no one is watching." He smiled, flipping through the pages. "You should show these. The world deserves to see what you see." She laughed lightly. "I am not sure the world cares about my little paintings." "Then let me care," he said, his tone almost a whisper. The way he said it made her chest tighten. Before she could respond, Dr. Harris entered with a clipboard, his expression grave. "Mr. Carter, your company has been calling. There are legal matters to address. Something about your brother, Nathan." The name hit the air like a cold draft. Grant's expression changed, eyes narrowing. "Nathan? He has been managing Carter Enterprises in your absence. Dr. Harris explained. "He seems eager to take over permanently." Anna's pulse quickened. "Grant, do you think yes?" He interrupted softly. "If anyone had a reason to tamper with my car, it would be him." For a long moment no one spoke. The monitor beside the bed beeped steadily, marking the weight of what had been uncovered. Grant finally looked at Anna, his voice firm. "I am not going to hide anymore. I need to face this." She met his gaze, fear and admiration mingling. "Then I will help you," she said. "Whatever it takes." Grant's lips curved into a slow, genuine smile. "You already have." As night settled over Westbridge, the hospital lights flickered softly, casting long shadows across the room. The man who had once been trapped between life and death was alive again, not just in body but in purpose. And beside him, the nurse who had pulled him back from darkness felt a quiet certainty that the real fight was only beginning. The following week brought a storm of emotions and revelations that neither Anna nor Grant was ready for. His recovery had reached the point where discharge was possible, But his mind was consumed by one question: why had his brother Nathan tried to kill him? The thought haunted him during therapy sessions, meals, even in moments of silence. Anna noticed the tension returning to his posture, the way his jaw clenched when the topic came up. "You are healing, Grant," she reminded him one morning as she checked his vitals. "Do not let anger undo what your body has worked so hard to repair." He looked at her with tired eyes. "I cannot just sit here while he controls everything I built." "Then face it smart," she said gently, not angry. Her calmness had a way of disarming him. "You really believe I can?" he asked. "I would not be here if I did not," she replied with a small smile. That evening, Grant received a call from his attorney confirming his suspicions there were suspicious financial transfers and executive decisions made under Nathan's name, using forged signatures. The betrayal was no longer speculation. It was fact. Grant stared at the phone long after the call ended, his knuckles white around the device. "He did it," he said quietly. "He wanted me gone so he could have it all." Anna stood near the window, her heart heavy. "What will you do now?" "Take back what is mine," he said. "But this time, I am not doing it for power. I am doing it for truth." The next morning, Dr. Harris arrived with paperwork for Grant's official discharge. "Medically, you are cleared," he said, signing the last page. "But take it easy, you are still rebuilding." "Thank you, doctor," Grant said, shaking his hand. Anna helped him gather his belongings, a few personal items, the book of her paintings, and a folded hospital gown that somehow felt symbolic. When they stepped outside for the first time in months, the sunlight was almost blinding. Grant paused, inhaling deeply. "I forgot what real air felt like." Anna smiled beside him. "Freedom smells a lot better than antiseptic, does not it?" He chuckled softly. "Much better." Over the next few days, Grant began visiting his company quietly, avoiding media attention. Anna saw him less often, though he called every evening just to hear her voice. Then, one night, the call never came. The next morning, Anna arrived at work to find two police officers speaking with Dr. Harris. Her stomach dropped when she caught the name they mentioned: Grant Carter. She rushed forward. "What happened?" One officer turned to her. "There was an incident at Carter Enterprises. Mr. Carter confronted his brother about the financial fraud. Things escalated. There was a physical altercation." "Is he hurt?" Anna demanded, her voice rising. "No serious injuries," the officer assured her, "but he insisted on going back to the hospital for observation. He is being brought in now." Minutes later, paramedics rolled Grant through the doors. His forehead was bruised, his shirt torn at the sleeve, but his eyes lit up the moment he saw Anna. "I am fine," he said quickly, reading the panic on her face. "I promise." She followed him into the exam room, trembling with relief. "What were you thinking?" she said, her voice breaking. "You just got your life back." He winced but smiled faintly. "I could not let him win, not after everything." Dr. Harris examined him and confirmed there were no major injuries, only fatigue and stress. When the doctor left, the room fell quiet. Anna sank into the chair beside him, her eyes glistening. "You scared me," she whispered. Grant looked at her, his expression softening. "I am sorry. I did not mean to." She reached for his hand, holding it tightly. "Promise me you will not do anything reckless again." He nodded slowly. "I promise." For a long moment, neither spoke. The rain began to fall outside, tapping gently against the window, the same rhythm that had marked the start of their story. Grant looked at her and said softly, "I would not have made it this far without you, Anna. You are my anchor in all of this." Her throat tightened. "And you are my reminder that miracles still happen," she replied. As thunder rolled faintly in the distance, they sat together in the dim light, two souls who had found strength in each other, unaware that the real test of love and justice was just beginning. 2 days later, the storm that had been brewing between the Carter brothers finally reached its breaking point. The confrontation at the company had drawn attention, and the evidence against Nathan was impossible to ignore. Fraud, embezzlement, and deliberate tampering of Grant's car had all been traced back to him. The police investigation moved quickly, and soon, Nathan Carter was taken into custody. The news spread across every business network and social media feed in the city. "Fallen heir arrested in attempted murder of brother," the headlines read. But for Grant, it was not victory, it was heartbreak. Sitting in his private recovery suite at the hospital, he stared out the window in silence, his expression unreadable. Anna entered quietly, holding a cup of tea. "You should drink something," she said softly. "You have not eaten all day." Grant did not move. He is my brother, Anna, my own blood. How do you even begin to forgive something like that? She set the cup down and sat beside him. Maybe forgiveness is not about him. Maybe it is about freeing yourself. He turned toward her, searching her face. You always know the right thing to say. Only because I have been where you are, she admitted. When my mother died, I blamed the doctors for months. I carried that anger like a badge, and it almost destroyed me. But one day, I realized she would not have wanted that for me. So I let go. Grant nodded slowly, her words sinking in. You let go, he repeated quietly. Maybe I need to learn how to do that. That night, as rain whispered against the glass, Grant called a press conference from his hospital room. Cameras filled the space, reporters leaning forward in anticipation. Anna stood in the back, watching as he addressed the world for the first time since his recovery. His voice was steady, calm but full of emotion. For months, I was trapped between life and death. I lost everything: my strength, my memory, my faith in people. But one person refused to give up on me. She reminded me that power means nothing without purpose, and that healing starts with compassion. I owe my life to Nurse Anna Monroe. The room erupted in murmurs and flashing lights. Anna's eyes widened as he turned toward her, extending his hand. Anna, please join me. Her heart pounded as she stepped forward, the crowd parting around her. She stood beside him, unsure of what to do, as he continued. I am alive because of her. She treated me like a person when I was just a shell of one. And today, I want to dedicate something special in her honor. He reached for a folder on the table, pulling out a document. The Carter Foundation is launching a new initiative. The Monroe Care Program, a fund to support nurses, caregivers, and underfunded clinics across the state. Anna's compassion reminded me what real leadership looks like. The applause was thunderous, flashes bursting across the room. Anna stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. When the conference ended, the room cleared, leaving them alone once more. You did not have to do that, she said softly. Yes, I did, Grant replied, stepping closer. You gave me back my life. I wanted the world to know your name. She smiled through her tears. I just wanted you to live. I am living, he said, his voice deep and sincere. Because of you. The air between them grew still, heavy with everything left unsaid. Then, slowly, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. There is one more thing, he said, opening it to reveal a delicate silver ring. When I was in that coma, you talked to me every day. You told me about hope, about believing in second chances. You did not know it then, but your voice was the one thing that kept me anchored. Anna, I do not just want to thank you. I want to spend my life showing you what your love saved. Her breath caught, disbelief and joy mixing in her eyes. Grant, she whispered, tears shimmering under the light. You do not have to. I want to, he interrupted gently. Will you let me? For a moment, the world disappeared. All that remained was the sound of rain, the pulse of life in the room, and two hearts that had found their way back to each other. Yes, she said finally, her voice trembling but sure. Yes, I will, Grant smiled, sliding the ring onto her finger. Outside, the storm broke, and the city lights flickered like stars returning after a long night. A year later, the world looked nothing like it had before. The chaos, the fear, the hospital lights, they had all faded into memories replaced by sunlight, laughter, and purpose. Grant Carter stood on the rooftop of the newly built Monroe Care Center, a state-of-the-art clinic funded entirely by his foundation. The grand opening had drawn doctors, nurses, and patients from across the city. But now that the speeches were done, the crowd had dispersed, leaving behind a quiet golden evening. Anna walked up beside him, her white dress fluttering softly in the breeze. You did it, she said with a smile. No, Grant replied, taking her hand. We did it. The past 12 months had been a whirlwind. Nathan's trial had ended with a conviction, but Grant chose not to press for the harshest sentence. He will live with what he did, he had told Anna. That is punishment enough. It was not revenge that drove him anymore. It was redemption. The Monroe Care Program had already helped hundreds of small clinics and underpaid nurses across the state. Anna had left her old hospital job to oversee it, and every day, she poured her heart into the work just as she once had into his recovery. Together, they had built something far greater than either of them could have imagined, a legacy of kindness born from pain. As they watched the sun dip lower over Westbridge, the golden light reflecting off the glass buildings, Anna leaned against his shoulder. "Do you ever miss your old life?" she asked. He thought for a moment, then shook his head. "I used to think success meant control. Now I know it means connection." He glanced at her with a grin. "And you are the best connection I have ever made," she laughed softly. "You always know what to say." "Only because I mean it," he replied, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Below them, the rooftop terrace was being prepared for a small celebration. Close friends, staff, and patients gathered around tables decorated with white flowers and candles. When Grant and Anna descended the stairs, applause broke out. Dr. Harris approached with a glass raised high. To the man who proved miracles exist, and the woman who made them happen, he toasted. Everyone cheered. Anna blushed, but Grant's eyes stayed fixed on her, pride shining there. As the evening deepened, music played softly, and for the first time in a long time, Anna allowed herself to simply breathe and enjoy the moment. Grant led her onto the dance floor, his hand resting gently on her back. "You know," he said, "I never thought I would dance again." She smiled up at him. "You just needed the right partner." They swayed beneath the string lights, the city shimmering around them. The scent of fresh flowers and candle wax filled the air, and the sound of laughter carried across the rooftop. For a moment, everything felt timeless. "Do you remember the first thing you ever said to me?" Grant asked. "Of course," she teased. "Something about cafeteria coffee." He chuckled. "And you were right. It was terrible." They both laughed, the memory binding them like a secret language only they shared. As the song slowed, Grant leaned closer and whispered, "You saved me in every way a person can be saved." Anna's eyes glistened. "And you taught me that love can heal just as deeply as medicine can." They kissed softly, the crowd erupting into applause once more, though neither of them heard it. Later, as the night drew to a close, Grant stood beside her overlooking the city that had once felt so cold. "You know what I realized?" he said quietly. "Home is not a place, it is a person." Anna turned toward him, her eyes glowing under the lights. "Then welcome home," she said. He smiled, pulling her closer as fireworks began to bloom across the night sky, their colors reflecting in her eyes. And in that moment, after all the pain, the loss, and the healing, they both understood what true miracles looked like. They were not made of lightning or fate, but of two hearts choosing to believe in hope again. The screen fades to the sound of their laughter, and a final line appears. "Love is the greatest medicine of all."